Hello.
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 Today, we look at exhibitions. You can see exhibitions of paintings,
Sculpture.
Photography.
science.
You can see exhibitions at a museum.
Or at an art gallery.
What kind of exhibitions do you like?
I love the surrealist painters, and if there are any exhibitions on, I always try to get to see them.
I like paintings and historical exhibitions.
I love art galleries.
I like art exhibitions most of all, I suppose, but any sort of art.
My favorite museum is the Museum of Natural History in New York City, which has the fantastic dinosaur display.
I like modern art exhibitions.
I went to see an exhibition of sculpture last week. It was at the Tate Gallery. That's an art gallery in London. It wasn't the first time I'd been to the Tate Gallery. I'd been there many times before. But it was the best exhibition I'd ever seen there.
Yes, it was great, wasn't it? I went with him. It was the first time I'd been to the Tate. It's really good.
I didn't go with them. I've never been to the Tate Gallery. Next time you go, can I come?
Oh, Natalie.
Of course you can.
I went to the Tate Gallery last week. I went to the Tate Gallery last week. I'd been there many times before. I'd been. I had been. I'd been there many times before.
You may remember that James Brady's hobby is photography. Well, today, he and Julia Marsh have gone to an art gallery to see an exhibition of photographs. But James has been in a bad mood all day.
What do you think of this, James?
It's okay.
James.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Tom Hall.
Because he received a prize for something you did?
Yes. The Drake bicycle campaign.
Trying to remember. Had anyone worked on that campaign before you?
No, they hadn't. And before I left MAP, I'd finished it. What do you think I should do?
Well, as I see it, there's nothing you can do. Except enjoy the exhibition.
Sorry. I think that's Ireland. Who's the photographer?
126. John Patrick Brady.
What? That's amazing.
Do you know him?
He's my cousin.
Had anyone worked on that campaign before you?
No, they hadn't. And before I left MAP, I'd finished it.
He'd finished it before he left MAP. He'd finished it. He had finished it. He'd finished it before he left MAP.
At the exhibition, James and Julia have found more photographs taken by James's cousin.
Here's another one. Aren't they wonderful?
They're very nice.
Now, what do you really think? Isn't he a great photographer?
He's good. Yes, he's very good. Is he a professional photographer, or is this his hobby?
I don't really know. He was still a student when I last saw him. He'd always been a keen photographer, like me. But he certainly hadn't had an exhibition when I left Ireland, I'm sure of that. He'd never even sold a photograph, as far as I can remember.
Why didn't he tell you about this exhibition?
Well, I haven't seen him for ages. I'm so pleased he's doing well.
And I'm so pleased you're in a better mood.
What do you mean?
Before you found your cousin's photo, she hadn't smiled all day.
Well, maybe I better go and ring Tom Hall while I'm still in a good mood.
Good idea. I'll join you later.
James left Ireland several months ago, but he was telling Julia about things that had happened before that. When James left Ireland, John hadn't had an exhibition. Hadn't had. Had not had. John hadn't had an exhibition. He'd never sold a photograph. He'd never sold. He had never sold. He'd never sold a photograph. And from photography to painting.
Sorry I'm late. I was at the hairdresser's.
That's okay. Ah! What happened to you?
I told you. I went to the hairdresser's.
The hairdressers?
Well, I hadn't been for ages, and my coat was getting too long.
And what happened?
Well, the hairdresser was new.
New?
I hadn't seen him before.
And?
Before I knew what he was doing, he'd cut it all off. It feels okay, but I think I'll get another coat before winter.
Yes, you'd better.
We're going now to the Science Museum in London. Our guide is Alison Porter. Let's start with an exhibition of old trains, cars and trams.
This is the Keyifle Castle. When it was built in 1923, it was the most powerful locomotive in the country. No previous locomotives had had the pulling power of this one. And when it ended its working life in 1960, it had travelled nearly 2 million miles. This is a city tram from Glasgow in Scotland. It was built in 1901, but this is what it looked like in 1927. By then, it had been modernised 3 times. They had added a roof. The original tram had been open. This is Puffing Billy, one of the early steam locomotives. It was built in 1813 to pull wagons of coal from the mines to the River Tyne in the north of England. Before Puffing Billy was invented, horses had pulled the wagons of coal. You can see that the wheels are made of metal. Before 1813, they had used wood to make the wheels. This you will probably know, the Morris Mini Miner, better known as the Mini. The Mini was designed for modern city driving. They tried to make it as small as possible. Before this, designers of cars had placed the gearbox here, and they had put the engine this way. As you can see, in the Mini, the engine goes this way, and the gearbox is under it. This meant that the Mini was much shorter.
One of the most popular rooms at the Science Museum, especially with children, is the launch pad. It's an interactive exhibition where visitors can touch the exhibits.
Launchpad is our largest interactive gallery, and when it opened, it was the first of its type in this country. It has a number of exhibits. As many as 60 different interactive exhibits are in the gallery. During the week you'll see school parties using the gallery with their teachers, but at weekends families come and the whole lot join in. I find the museum a very stimulating place. It's a place that's both a lot of fun and it's also a big learning environment. And I think that anyone that visits here will go away feeling that they've learned something from the experience and they can take that away with them.
Have you ever been to the Science Museum, Kevin?
No, but I'd like to.
Hold it right there. Hey, do you think I should have an exhibition of my photographs?
No.
No.
Oh.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.